So this is a presentation on internship programs, the good, the bad, and the challenging. So hopefully that's where you mean to be. My name is Leslie Kern, and I'm the program coordinator for mbrace, which stands for Monterey Bay Regional Academy of Computing Education, which is quite a mouthful. So try to keep it focused on, we're focused in Monterey Bay, California, and we're dedicated to improving computing education in our region. So I'll talk a little bit more about what mbrace is a little bit later, but that's the quick overview. Well, I guess even before we look at the presentation goals, I was hoping to get a little bit of input from you all about your experience with internship programs and sort of what you're interested in internship programs. So I'm guessing most everybody is an instructor at a college. Is that pretty much correct? Okay. And does anybody have an internship program, or maybe not a program, but internships that are running for ICT, technology, computing students at this point? Okay. I mean, on average, about how many students are you placing in internships?
20 plus each semester.
Okay, 20 plus each semester?
10 to 15.
Okay.
I just started. We had one last semester. So.
Okay. And 10 to 15? Okay. 20? Okay. So that's really good to know for me. Obviously, well, not obviously, but some of you probably have more experience with this than I do, so I'm really hoping to encourage conversation and sort of get feedback from everyone else. The general goals of the presentation, I do want to share some information about the mbrace internship program, how we run it, so that you kind of know where I'm coming from as I talk about the best practices, lessons learned, and some adjustments we're making. So we'll kind of use the mbrace as a baseline, but I'm certainly interested in hearing about other people's experiences and getting your input as well. So that's sort of the overall goal of the presentation. To start, a little history about mbrace. We are a collaboration of 4 educational institutions. So Cabrillo College is in Aptos, California, which is right around Santa Cruz. Hartnell College is in Salinas. MPC is in Monterey, and then California State University is in just a little bit north of Monterey. And of our 4 educational institutions, 3 are 2-year colleges, Cabrillo, Hartnell, and MPC, and then CSUMB is a 4-year college. So about 3 years ago, in 2009, the instructors in the computer science areas of those schools got together and decided that they wanted to apply for a National Science Foundation ATE grant, Advanced Technological Education grant. So up to this point, we have been seeded primarily by that ATE grant. We have had some additional funding from our industry partners, as well as some other smaller grants, and then institutional support from those 4 institutions. But I also want to point out that the internship program is one component of a broader objective of mbrace. So none of us are working full-time on the internship program. There are other things going on as well. So I just kind of want to mention that, set that up there.
Do you want questions at the end?
Yes, you are welcome to ask questions right now as well.
Is the funding that you received used for what?
The funding, and I will talk a little bit more about that as we go through. If you have more questions when we get to that, we'll go there. So in our first 2 years, we're starting the 3rd cycle of the internship program. We placed 28 students in internship positions. So we thought that was pretty good. I think the goal is to kind of keep increasing. Our internships have been with organizations including Cisco, and I put the number of students that were in each position, or with each organization next to it. So Cisco, the Naval Postgraduate School, has been a really good partner for us. AMS.net, SigmaNet, the City of Watsonville IT Department, Cruise.io, and then Trust REU, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. I think it's a good, for 2 years, a pretty good mix of industry and governmental organization partners, and I think there are some things we've learned. We want to increase the industry, and there are values that the governmental partners bring to the table as well. Our interns are paid on average, for the most part, it's $10 to $12 per hour, and for the most part, it's $12 per hour. They work for 40 hours a week, with a few exceptions, and they work 8 to 12 weeks over the course of the summer. And each intern is set up with a mentor at the beginning of their internship, and that mentor, you could also call it a manager, but we like to call it a mentor because we're asking that manager to do a little bit more than just be a manager. So each student is set up with a mentor at their host organization, and then each student is also set up with an advisor from the faculty who supports the student. Maybe if the mentor isn't able to answer a question or the student's not getting the kind of feedback they need on a certain problem or project, they are able to ask that faculty advisor for input. And then I get this question a lot. People are always interested what level our interns are. Do we place freshmen? Do we place seniors? Because we have a gamut of interns in our program. And we have traditional students who are more coming to college right after high school, and we have placed students finishing their freshman year of college, so students between their freshman and sophomore year have done internships, all the way through students right before their senior year of college. And then we also have quite a few returning students who maybe are seeking certifications or who are making career changes, and we have placed them in internships as well. So we're across the board. I mean, I think last year our interns ranged in age from 19 to 60. So pretty significant. And the last thing I want to do in giving you kind of an overview of our internship program is just give you a timeline so that you can kind of have a context for how we structure things. The internship cycle kicks off in December, and there are two big things that happen then. In December, myself and the faculty start finding internship partners, which I'm sure those of you who have internship programs know get significantly easier in years 2 and 3. Year 1 is a lot of like cold calling and finding people. But so December through May, we really do that. My goal is to find positions by March at the latest, but it pretty much always ends up moving out until closer to May. And then also December through February, students apply for the internship program. And I'll talk a little bit more about how our program's set up. Our students don't apply for a specific position. They apply to be accepted to the internship program, and then we start some training things with them. And once we get to know them and get to know what positions are available, we start matching them with actual positions. So I think that's kind of interesting about our program. Students are notified of their acceptance in mid-March, and then, like I said, we do some internship preparation workshops. So some training that students get before they start their internship, and that happens in April and May. Students do their internships May through August. They usually start a week after school ends, and since we're dealing with 4 different institutions, that's usually about 3 different dates that they end. And then they do their internship up until about a week before school starts. And again, that varies depending upon what school the student goes to. During the internship, students are doing weekly journal entries, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. And then in August, and actually probably a little bit before August, students start preparing for the internship symposium, which is a really big deal for our program. So that's kind of a general overview of what our internship program looks like, and I'm going to talk in detail about some things, the good, the bad, and the challenging as we go on. Is there anything off the top, any questions?
Are these classes that you also get compensated from the state, or are these outside of the curriculum?
These are outside of the curriculum, so students aren't getting credit. It's strictly run as a pay internship program. Yes?
How many people are involved, whether it's part-time or full-time, on the college side of this?
On the college side of this, for the most part, I would say we have 4 faculty. So one from each college that's primarily involved, and occasionally somebody else will step in. We were kind of trying to talk about the percentage of time that is spent from a faculty standpoint. Do you have any? I mean, low, pretty low, like 10%. And then I'm obviously doing a lot of the coordination, so I'm just pulling faculty in when I need them.
What is your background?
Oh, sure. My background, I actually am a product of an internship experience myself, which I did between sophomore and junior year and between junior and senior year of college, which was for a software development company. I was doing technical writing for a software development company. Since then, I've also been a third grade teacher, and then I have done this coordination position. So very interested in education as well as technology, and also strong supporter of internships personally.
Is this a full-time thing for you? 10% of the faculty?
Yeah, I would say for my personal amount of time that I actually spend in the internship program, so I'm also doing outreach to high school and middle school students and some other things, I would say percentage of my time spent specifically on the internship program probably would be like 35 to 40%, I would say. Okay, any other questions, General? All right, moving along. So we're going to talk a little bit about the good, and there are lots of goods, but these are sort of three things that I've pulled out specifically about the program that I would say, if you are going to thinking about running an internship program, these are three things I would strongly consider including in that program. The first one I think is huge, and that's creating an end-to-end experience for students. A complete program keeps students actively engaged throughout the entire experience. When we were starting our program, we got a lot of feedback and input, and we were trying to collect information from people who had internship programs. And the thing we heard from people who had maybe not fared so well with their internship program was that the model of finding a position, finding a student, connecting them, and then sort of throwing the student over the fence and hoping that it worked out wasn't necessary. With some students it works great, but it doesn't necessarily work with all students, with most students I would say. So we've tried to really design an internship program that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that students see that whole picture from the first day they walk in. So our components are, for pre-internship, we do internship preparation workshops. During the internship, we have the weekly journal entries, and I do site visits. And post-internship, we have the internship symposium. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about each of those. But I also, before I do that, I also want to stress that first statement says that it keeps the students engaged through the whole experience. What I think we have found is that it also really increases internship hosts' confidence in what we're doing. The intern hosts, when we go to the table to ask them if they'd be willing to host our interns, we explain the process that we go through. There's preparation, that we're in touch with students during their whole internship experience, and I think that gives them a lot of confidence. They maybe don't have the expertise, especially when you're dealing with small and medium-sized companies, don't have sort of an internship program built in themselves. So it's nice for them to know that they can kind of offload some of that educational, academic component on us, if that makes sense. So quickly, internship preparation workshops, the way we do it, and I would think there are lots of ways you could do it, especially depending on the size. So we're dealing with about 15 to 20 students at the beginning of each internship cycle. We do 3 Saturday morning workshops from 9 to 12. It gives students an opportunity to see that they're part of a bigger group, that they're not just one person going over there. So they feel a little bit more invested in the big picture. And it also allows me and the faculty an opportunity to really sort of see what students' interests are, to see how committed they are so that we feel more comfortable placing them in positions. It gives me an opportunity to spend probably more time than they'd like talking about operational information, like how they're going to get paid, who they report to, how the program works, how they get their placement. And then it also, we use it to do some professional development. We do oral and written communication. So one of the faculty members does a presentation about that. We do project planning, which is a really important part, and I will talk about that. And we cover some technical topics. So I think to me, it sort of provides a level of seriousness and sort of weightiness to the whole internship experience. Yes?
How much do you actually cover what might be considered going to be professional skills, things like teamwork and showing up on time and, being able to problem solve and various things like that? I know we kind of have a boot camp, and we have to do much more on that as opposed to some of this, and I was just curious as to...
I would say, a lot. Yes, absolutely, a lot. The first talk that the students get is sort of a serious, you are part of a serious program, you've been chosen for a reason, you're going to represent us, you're going to represent yourself, and I think probably from what you're saying you've experienced as well, a lot of these students, our students at least, don't have a framework of what showing up on time means, what the appropriate way to approach a supervisor is. And so we spend a good amount of time doing that, and also getting the students invested in what they're going to get out of this. The idea that there are some things you have to do that you might not love to do, but at the end of this, you're going to have a great experience. You're going to potentially have job contacts, and so we spend a lot of time sort of really encouraging that. The weekly journal entries, as I mentioned, those happen throughout the course of the internship program. They're due, I think Friday afternoon is good, after lunch. Students have an opportunity to reflect on the week's work, and also it gives them sort of a calibration point to look forward to the next week. So do the journal entries. It's all online. I post the questions on our online course management tool. Students post their responses there. It allows me to continue communicating with them. It allows faculty to see their responses. And the other great thing that has proven to be pretty good is students can see their fellow interns' comments. So the first internship journal entry I asked was, what surprised you about your first week of your internship? What has not worked out so well? And I think it was really good for students to see that everybody had slightly shaky first week, that you kind of have to work through that. So I think that was good for students to be able to see. And the last thing I will say is that I try to make my topics for the internship or the journal entries related to what the students are going to need to put together for their internship symposium. So they are working on collecting information that they're going to be able to use for their final project, essentially. And what that is, the picture didn't turn out well. The internship symposium is held the final week of or the week after internship ends. And interns prepare posters and presentations, and they know from day one that this is going to happen. And so they know throughout the internship experience that they need to be collecting certain information and recording it and keeping it organized. And then they start a little bit, probably mid-July, working with their faculty advisor to put together either their poster or their presentation. And then students, the intern hosts, their mentors, the families of the students, friends of the students, and community members are all invited to come to about a 3-hour presentation where students either do oral presentations or we have a poster session. And I would say in the last 2 years, I think we had 70 people the first year and 90 people the second year come. And so it's a great celebration. There's so much good energy in that room, and students end the experience having an opportunity to reflect, to show off what they've done, and in turn, hosts and mentors get a chance to see this big picture. It's not just about their one intern that they had. They see that they're part of a bigger objective. Yes?
I wanted to ask a question about this. Your students to log back and forth. I'm sorry to mention it.
No, that's fine. Sure. It's Blackboard, which is we're Island now, which is Moodle based.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, through Cal State. So we're Island.
So they use a discussion forum on there?
They use a discussion forum on there, and I do it by week, so we can just kind of keep track of each week. And I use it also for the Internship Symposium. As they do versions of their posters and presentations, they post that up there, so it's sort of accessible to everyone, kind of can see how things are moving. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this a class that they take, or this is not a class that they officially register for?
Yeah. Correct. So it's not a class that they officially register for. We just set up the iLearn so that we could use it for our communication.
So they don't get units?
Not for this. Yeah, we don't do units. So they are getting paid, but yeah, we don't set up the units.
Sign a contract or anything with agreements? I think we're all getting at what motivates them to do this every week. If we're not getting graded.
To do the internship. To do the posting. Yeah, I think we tie it pretty closely to the money. Just that they're part of a program, that these are the requirements of the program, and that if you don't do any of these pieces, you can be pulled. So we really, I would say, haven't had much trouble with that. I'll talk a little bit later about students who have dropped early because they don't want to do that kind of stuff. But once a student commits and is into it, I really have little. In fact, some students are extremely excited about posting their learnings for the week. Yes?
I'm sorry, I came in late.
No, that's
a range of companies that the students have been placed with.
Sure. So we have students with industry partners, so Cisco, AMS.net, SigmaNet, Cruise.io is an internet service provider in Santa Cruz. We also have students with governmental organizations, the Naval Postgraduate School, and then we also have students with, and I will talk about this in a little bit, but outside organizations. So maybe, are you familiar with the REU, Research Experience for Undergraduates? And that's sort of an internship program in and of itself, but we encourage our students to go ahead and apply for other internship programs, and then we try to incorporate them in our process as well. So they maybe go to an external place, get funding, find a position, but we will tie them into our efforts as well.
I wasn't familiar with that initial research.
So REU is Research Experience for Undergraduates, and there are something between like 50 and 100, specifically even just focused on computing education. And they're all over the country, and they normally pay students to go, fly them out there, wherever it is, and then they do their experience there. So that's one. NASA has an internship program. We encourage students to apply for that, and then we also try to fold them into our existing program as well. The second, the good, is setting expectations. I think this is really important to clarify to the host organization or the mentor, the intern, and the program's expectations. Make sure all parties are aware of all three of those things. We have a mentor and intern handbook, and I would say the intern handbook has been more used at this point than the mentor handbook. We go through the intern handbook at the internship preparation workshop, and that's where we really address what those expectations are and what a student cannot do or shouldn't do that would get them pulled from the program. So it's all written down. They're very familiar with it. We go through it with them. The mentors has been a little bit more informal up to this point. In our conversations with them, we talk about what the expectations are. We have a handbook, but we haven't been as rigorous about going through it with them, and I think that's something we'd like to do moving forward. The other things about setting expectations, this point number 2 I think is really important. Having mentors define early on 1 to 2 specific project objectives, specific things that their intern needs to finish. That's very important because it allows them to get their head around what they want that student to do so that the student's not just showing up thinking like, what do I do today? And it also is really good because it allows them to think through sort of that 8, 10, or 12-week period and make sure that they're going to have work for the student to do that whole time. And then we also have students work with the mentors to write a project plan. During the internship preparation workshop, we have sort of a project plan template, and there are some challenges with that process that I'll talk about, but it's a good thought process for the students to go through. We cover things like in the project plan, so it's not like a formal project plan, but covers things like who your key contacts are, what your top 2 objectives are. If you are at a stuck place and maybe your mentor is out of town for a week and you end up getting stuck on your first 2 goals, what is your sort of ongoing extra work you can always go do? Maybe it's reading about a certain topic. Maybe there's a specific thing that that company needs them to do. But so really identifying worst case scenarios and how a student would manage that. Yes?
So, I thought I understood a lot of this stuff until we got to this book. So, when, as a mentor, they don't have a specific job they want these students to do, and the students are not necessarily matched in any form or fashion with capabilities that they have. It's just something more of a do-good type of thing. Is that right?
No, I totally misspoke then.
No, I apologize.
No, it's very much not that. So students are very much, no, that's okay. Students are very much matched with positions based on skills. Absolutely.
So the projects are the ones, When I was confused by this too, because the mentor is from the college. I would think that it would be
the mentor is from the employer.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, yeah. So the mentor is from the employer side, and the advisor is from the college side. So that's maybe a lingo thing that's different. So the mentor from the company defines the project, and then we encourage, which sometimes works out better than other times, and I'll talk about that in challenges, encourage the students, give them instruction on how to work on that project plan with that mentor. Okay.
I was curious, if you ever have trouble as an industry is willing to get a mentor who's working with you?
Yes. There are times that can be challenging, or that we think we have a mentor lined up and the person doesn't end up doing what we consider to be mentor behavior. So that is challenging. I think for the most part we have organizations that we sell them on the idea that this is going to ultimately improve the internship, not only for the student, but also it's going to help the organization get what they want out of the student. So really trying not to think about this as like, charity. We're going to take a student, we'll throw a few things at them, because that doesn't tend to work out. But the idea that the organization is invested, that they've spent time coming up with the project, that we're not guaranteeing, but we've spent a lot of time with these students prepping them, and that we are confident they're going to be able to meet the requirements of the organization. And so that actually leads to funding, which is kind of correlated to that. In our experience, money increases the host organization and the intern's investment in project success. And so we committed from the first day of doing paid internships. Students would get paid for their work. I don't know about you guys. We have a lot of students who couldn't possibly do an internship if they didn't get paid. A lot of them are quitting another job in order to do this, or asking their employer for an 8-week hiatus so that they can do this. So pay we find to be essential. And then the other really key piece is that intern hosts should contribute something. We strive for a 50-50 model to begin, and we do have funds available from our NSF grant. But so we're paying 50% of the intern's pay, and the organization is paying 50% of the intern's pay. And we've sort of started with that model, and I put in here parentheses, with success, attempts to increase the partner's contribution. And we're to a point with our program that we feel pretty confident saying, you know, this needs to be 75-25 with the host organization contributing the 75, because we have partners that are lined up and that are interested and committed to the process. So that's the way we've structured it. Just to point out, I think on average our interns end up, it's about $4,000 to $5,000 per intern per summer. So if you were, for our interns, if you're looking for, you know, additional funding, maybe you want to do a 75-25 model and you can want to place 3 interns and can get your hands on $3,000, and then ask the host organizations to contribute the extra. That's one possible way to do it.
Administrative detail, but does the college actually then employ the students, or does the employer?
So that would be the next point, flexibility in ways partners can contribute. So we have a variety of ways, depending upon the organization that we're working with, that what works easiest for them as far as paying the students. And we do have models where we hire the students directly at the university and pay them throughout the summer. We also have models where maybe we hire the students for the first 6 weeks, and the host organization hires the students for the second 6 weeks. So they're covering part. And with the first model, we ask that the organization contribute to the program. So we're using that funding.
A couple questions then. One, what happens if you have a non-for-profit people don't have funding for this? Can you take all of it?
There are a few instances, and obviously it depends by program, what the program is able to do. We have a few instances where we have some partners who cannot pay at all. But we also have some partners who can pay more than they need, than will cover their interns. So we have some flexibility with accepting those partners that can't pay. And I would say we're very careful in that situation, and I mean that's definitely an exception, because we do believe firmly in the idea that the host organization contributing improves the effectiveness of the internship all around. So we strongly encourage that, and if a person can't pay, but we really think this is going to be a great learning experience for a student, the student is going to get something out of it that they wouldn't be able to get somewhere else, then we'll go ahead and do that partnership.
Is the community, I guess, partnership of the colleges with these not-for-profits considered? Because you would think that there would be some benefit to the college, at least, as well as to the students, of course, if they do this work gratis for the not-for-profit.
Mm-hmm. I would say we haven't really experienced that. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's true, and there are cases where maybe we want to build a relationship, build a rapport, and so we say first year we'll give you, we'll place an intern with you at no cost to you. Year 2 we expect 50-50, or year 3, which I know not-for-profit, there are some challenges with that.
And then the other question I had is related to do they get a 1099 at the end of the year? Are they W-2 people that are?
They get, I believe, a W-2, I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't handle the exact administration of that, but there's enough that their taxes are withheld or their Social Security is withheld and that kind of stuff. So I believe they get a W-2. They're hired, both the community college and university students are hired as university corporation employees.
And if they're employed, though, it's a term in the other company, pays everything.
Yeah, yeah, for the most part, unless
benefits as well, or no?
they have, nobody gets like regular benefits, yeah, just,
It's usually be on the W-2 as a temporary employee.
yeah.
And just a quick, and this is more bureaucratic, but I think unless they're in class, I don't think we'd be able to hire them. So that's where,
Sure.
I don't know, we need to move on from it, but that is something that would stop us.
Stop you from doing that. And we encountered that a little bit. So year one, we did enroll a few students in like a 1-credit course because we needed to. Year two, we ended up not needing to. So we figured out ways to kind of make that happen. Yes.
So how much do you actually, or do you in any form or fashion, interface at all with like workforce employment boards that are focused on this type of function all the time to be able to really think about increasing employer pools or, ways to, I guess we're very fortunate because I was thinking, wow, 50/50, our employers pay for it.
That's excellent. Yeah. No problem.
So I guess I was just trying to think through, ways to increase the numbers of people that are involved.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, and I think we're to a point now where we do need to think a little bit more strategically about, as opposed to just sort of the one-off, somebody says that company may need an intern, Leslie, give them a call, see if you can set that up kind of a thing. We probably do need to get a little bit more strategic, and I think also...
And professional organizations are a really good place.
Good place, yeah, that sounds, I think that'd be a really good, good place for us to go.
Maybe not time for the bad.
Okay, we'll do the bad. Okay, so the bad, I'll do the two bad really quickly, and then we'll get to the challenging. I don't know, this was really bad. Intern hosts dropping. So sometimes they sort of drag you along, and they say, yes, we're gonna promise you a position, and then they drop, and it's okay sometimes if they drop before the internship program starts, but we had a bad experience with an intern host dropping 3 weeks into an internship, and so that was a lot of reorging and fixing things. I would say probably of this slide, starting small with a new host organization is a really good idea. We had 3 interns placed at that place, so trying to replace 3 students and deal with that was a lot. If we would have just had 1, first of all, the organization maybe could have handled it, and 2, if they couldn't have, we would have had a lot less of a mess to clean up. The other one would be students dropping, and this was shocking. I did not think students would drop, and we've had students drop. The setting expectations and addressing their concerns early and really kind of thinking outside of the box of concerns that you wouldn't necessarily have, but that they come up with, is important. Again, a post-placement drop is a lot worse than a pre-placement drop. And we probably have been pretty limited with our post-placement drops. I would say I expect maybe 1 student per year to have a family emergency or illness that requires them to drop. But we had students drop because they weren't real fond of their 20-minute commute to work or things like that. So really setting those expectations up front is important. And then also encouraging students to come to you before they talk to the employer. We had a few students, like I found out from the employer that they had dropped, and that was one of those like gut, just, oh, really? Sorry. So that was not so much fun. The challenging. Securing intern hosts can be really challenging. The timing is hard. They sometimes don't know that they're going to have internship opportunities available until like a month before the internship. And so we really ask them to give us an idea, and then if they can give us a job description early on in the process, we find that usually gets their wheels spinning and gets them thinking they're going to have an intern. So get that going is good. Funding, an organization doesn't have a budget, and that, especially with industry, letting them know in December hey, we're going to be hiring and interested in placing interns in May, that can sometimes give them enough time that they can plan for that. Not finding enough paid positions, so you can't find enough opportunities for the number of students that you're interested in placing, and that's always a very delicate balance. The 50-50 model is very helpful in enticing more people to participate. They're hesitant to do that, saying, well, we're going to put 50% in the game as well. They're sometimes a little bit more willing to do that. And then I mentioned earlier, encouraging students to find outside opportunities. I have no problem with a student who maybe they know a local company that they would like to work for. No problem with a student calling that company, finding out if there's an internship program or an internship available, and then joining in on our preparation during and after process. Project planning is very hard. I think it's so important, and I have high hopes for it as we move forward. But it also, there are a lot of challenges. Students need to know what they're going to be doing pretty early, so late placement or, a company calling and saying a week before, oh, we're ready. Can you send someone? That makes it hard for the project plan to happen. Having that host organization define the project is really important. And then connecting the mentor and intern and making sure, someone asked that, are mentors invested in that process? We're going to work on that this year, making sure mentors see the value in defining this project up front so that it'll save them some time on the back end or even some failed progress. Okay. Yes?
I don't have a question. I just want to share with you what we have been doing successfully and enjoy with me. We are a department at the College. We have run internships for many years, and we are in a position where we have more openings than students. And the way we work is we have established a relationship with companies such as HP, Yahoo, Synopsys, and there's a few smaller ones. We are computer lab where we have a lab instructor who will prepare. First, we go out and recruit students at the college to train them, and then we place them into companies. But the way we place them is because we have the relationship, companies will send us job descriptions. This is what we need, and we prepare the students to match the students. Our drop rate is almost non-existent. Not only the companies pay $10 per hour for students, but we charge 50% above. Because the way we do is the money that we charge them, we pay our students to go and learn in the lab to prepare them for the job. And the equipment that they work on is donations from companies. Those are computers, and after they are refurbished, they learn the skill. Those computers are given to financial aid eligible students at Monterey and Alianza, because we believe that no student should be deprived of a computer. And so you're talking about the whole really project that only uses obsolete equipment, at the same time training the students and getting into internships. And we have many success stories where we place a student in Yahoo. Within the month, they got promoted. 3 months later, they make more than I do. And I am completely... It's a complex program.
Sorry, I was on the evaluation of that program. It is outstanding.
That's awesome.
It's I'm struggling to find students to match.
But you've been going for quite a number of years.
Yes.
That's wonderful, and that would be a great place to end things on. Our goal now moving forward is to try to move to the 120% was sort of our goal of our host organizations, eventually covering 120% of student pay so that we can take care of some of those additional expenses.
A big difference in our program is the students work year-round.
Oh, okay.
They do a 20-hour week. They have to carry 6 units.
That's awesome.
I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm going to encourage you, since it is lunchtime, to stick around and ask questions.
Chris?
Well, my question is,